As the countdown to the new year continues, Deputy President Paul Mashatile expressed renewed optimism for 2026. During his festive message, Mashatile cited a number of positives, such as Africa's first G20 Leaders Summit and the National Dialogue Convention. He's also highlighted the slight GDP growth in the third quarter, saying this will boost investor confidence. To reflect on this year, on the year that was, political analyst from the Nelson Mandela Bay University, Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast, joins us now. Good evening, Prof. Thank you so much for your time tonight. When I was listening to Deputy President Paul Mashatile, when he says, as South Africans, we have a lot to be proud of and to celebrate in 2025, does he have a point?
Partly yes and partly no. I think we've had a mixed bag of a year. We've had a very interesting year with the ups and downs, the good and the bad. Yes, our economy has not been growing the way it should have, but we see a new performance of the economy, even though that has not trickled down to the poorest of the poor, because when you talk about an economy that is performing, I always look at indicators such as the reduction of unemployment, the reduction of poverty, the reduction of the gap between the haves and the have-nots. So on that score, I think we are falling short. But in terms of trying to make the economy to take off the ground and do better, I think we've done quite well, even though we fall short in terms of the trickling down effect. But we've also, I think, had good moments like the G20 summit that we hosted, which has put the country on a global scale against all odds. Of course, there have been other moments of madness. For instance, the budget that was put on hold, I think that was a biggest threat to the GNU.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think those are some of the things that stand out for me this year.
Prof, who do you think then this call or message resonate with, right? Because we still live in a country that is the most unequal in the world, right? There's high levels of poverty and there's crime. Who then will his message resonate with?
Look, just to be fair and square, I think in order for us to reflect on the contemporary specificities, we also need to have a historical appreciation because South Africa has a history of colonialism and apartheid. Therefore, the past is still with us. But I think some of the policy choices that we have made have been off the mark, like policies like, the neoliberal policies of privatization of services, which are really putting the poor on the back foot. So the poorest of the poor, I think they have not benefited the way they should have. That's why you see in terms of Gene Core efficient, you see this gap between the rich and the poor increasing as opposed to being narrowed down.
You've kind of like touched on this, Prof, on the issue of economic growth, right? And he also spoke about, improved revenue collection. And you know that recently we had a credit ratings upgrade. He's saying that we should be proud of those. But one would argue, though, Prof, that these have not actually impacted the millions of people. The cost of living is still very high. People are battling to put food on the table. There's high levels of unemployment in this country.
Yes, I think to be fair and square to him, it's good to cite the fact that there has been improvement in so far as the economy is concerned. But that is not good enough. If, for instance, that change for the better does not impact on the material conditions of the majority. Young people are bearing the brunt. They are affected on a large scale by unemployment. And because of that, some of them, they are despondent. They don't want to participate in other democratic processes. I'm not saying that they should not participate, but I'm saying that they are not benefiting from the fruits of democracy. Therefore, you still have a problem of unemployment. And the issue of unemployment is not just an economic matter, it's a security matter. You cannot have peace and stability if you have unemployment. So unemployment is a very critical issue. It's an issue of security. Therefore, we can't talk about a glue that holds everyone together, social cohesion, if we have unemployment on a large scale and inequality and poverty. Those insecurities, they need to be addressed.
The ANC Youth League early this week said that it wanted government to declare the high rate of youth unemployment a national disaster. Do they actually have a point here?
Yes, they do. Because unemployment is, if you want to grow the economy, you also need people who are active in the economy. Our economy has always been driven by consumption. But when you have unemployment on a large scale, first of all, your revenue is going to be affected negatively because the majority of people are not going to contribute to revenue because they won't be able to pay tax, except VAT, value-added tax. So it's good to have a majority of people who are employed. In Europe, if unemployment reaches 5%, it's a crisis. That government will be asked to leave public office, But in our country, we've tolerated a lot of things. Unemployment, I think, is sitting at about 32%. It is worse amongst the youth, and something must be done.
There's something that was actually quite striking, which he said regarding GBV and femicide. He said this year, South Africa marked a turning point in this particular issue because it will now be classified as a national, as a national disaster. Should women be comforted by that?
Well, we live in a world order whereby patriarchy still embeds itself. We as men, we are at fault in terms of inflicting pain upon women because we don't want to let go of our privileges, male privileges. So the issue is patriarchy. Yes, it's good to make statements, but I think there's a need to really fight against gender-based violence. And people who are perpetrating that kind of behavior, they need to be called out. So, I think it was good for women to take it upon themselves in opposition to gender-based violence and to march against the scourge of gender-based violence. But a whole lot more needs to be done. But I think we as men, we need a paradigm shift in terms of how we view our sisters.
Prof, the reality is that there's, local government elections next year. Could his messaging, could him asking us, right, to be proud of what government has achieved, could this be also an election, him trying to score, political points going into next year's local government elections?
I don't want to be simplistic now.
Yes.
And come up with a reductionist analysis because you're talking about a leader of the country who needs to, encourage people across the racial divide. encourage them to work together to improve the country. I think that's why people vote for their leaders. So that's his a responsibility as a leader. But of course, because you're talking about a politician, again, there might be that element of politicking. But I wouldn't say that he was at fault or he was wrong for encouraging the country to work together and to enhance social cohesion.
Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate your time.